Yeah, wait till you hear this. Justin Parr is a contemporary artist, glass blower, photographer, and gallery owner from San Antonio, Texas. He's the caretaker and artist in residence at the historic Hot Wells Hotel ruins on the San Antonio River. His gallery, Flight, run alongside senior co-conspirator Ed Saavedra, has been a staple of the San Antonio contemporary art scene for 18 years and counting, bringing a refreshing outsider perspective to the community and continuing to grow from there. His distinctive glass work always includes some imperfections. That's interesting because my work always includes lots of imperfections that only make them more desirable, and his blown marbles are literally hunted for throughout the country in a group that numbers online in the thousands. Ladies and gentlemen, Justin Parr.
There's a whole lot of you guys out there. So I don't have much prepared for before this, so I'm just going to get started pretty quick here. All right. So I've never been very comfortable with calling myself an artist. I kind of have an astounding lack of ability to focus on one project at a time. My good friend Anjali Gupta calls me a neo-traditionalist. She's totally a badass, so I'm going to go with that. Tonight I'm going to be presenting a group of slides with way too many images on them, and I'm going to try to overwhelm all of us together with what it is I do in kind of the way I think. I like to borrow other people's words and use them in out-of-context situations, seen here mostly on trees. Started with my favorite authors, most recently has progressed into artists, friends, and my own statements. These are often found attached to telephone poles when they aren't on trees. In 2001, I started an art gallery. In hindsight, this mostly came from a place of misunderstanding with how the existing art community worked. I felt that the people I knew were creating amazing artwork and that they weren't being represented or able to show their work in the community. Little did I know that there was already a thriving community of art and artists I had just not yet found. So thankfully, that community embraced us, and almost 20 years later, we're still in business. We actively seek out new and underrepresented artists, and we openly accept proposals from artists and curators all times of the year. If you know someone who is hiding away, creating amazing things, and not wanting to show them, send them our way. We would love to take a look. So as a kid, I dreamed one day I would have an art studio in an old office building in a bustling downtown area. I remembered also the only drawings I could do at the time were these crazy color fields that elicited an honest response from adults around me. So thanks to the support of folks at Gray Street, I was honored to have a summer residency in an old law office to re-explore these ideas a few years back. Going back to the idea of changing the perception of a space. This is an old Citgo gas station in Southtown near my home. It was so hated at one time it had a Facebook page called I Hate You Southtown Citgo with over 5,000 members before that was even a thing. So one of the goals of this was to get people to leave the Citgo with new positive memories. Some of you might know me as a glass blower. I'm fascinated with creating objects and the processes I go through to then attribute a value to these things. These rocks I was creating perplexed me for a while. I wanted to know how they could somehow become precious or sacred objects. I stared at them. I realized more and more, I used to call myself a celebrity pet photographer. So I was a photographer. So I used this same equipment to pull this imagery from them. I've presented them in a bunch of different ways over the last few years, but ultimately what it means to me is that these images are attributing value to those objects. So, do you guys remember this? So the first time I went to a PechaKucha, I sat in the audience and I thought, oh my gosh, one day I'm gonna do a PechaKucha and I'm gonna present that time I made 44 magnets for the community garden and oh my God, I'm glad I got that out of the way. All right, so I make drinking glasses. I'm kind of obsessed with it. So much so, there's actually 2 slides of them here. They're made on a propane oxygen torch. We call it lamp-worked or flame-worked glass. It's made around 2,500 degrees. The type of glass is borosilicate. It's what you guys know as Pyrex. They start out as 5-foot-long tubes and rods. I have a hard time drawing a straight line, so that kind of comes out in how the glasses feel. You guys remember we're talking about neo-traditionalism here, right? My best understanding is that I'm taking an old idea and presenting it in a new way. I'm not too sure here. Y'all can judge me on this later. Anyway, so my marbles, let's see, they're coming. Oh, there they are. They came before my rocks. So I'm totally into making marbles. The idea of a tiny glass sphere with a whole world in it is just like particularly fetching to me. I've made hundreds of these. There's never the same one twice. Okay, guys, everybody grab your phone really quick. I'm breaking the rules here. Grab your phone. You want to take a photo of this next slide right about now. Okay, so if you do this, take a photo, you're gonna have a clue to find a lost marble, and you can walk out of here after this presentation and find it within walking distance, or you can join this group. I'm there on the side with my friend Sean, who started this with me, and we hide our marbles. So this is my glass shop where I make everything. This is my studio mate Adam right there. There's the shop Peacock hanging out in the background, handsomer. We have a bunch of wacky ideas. We got a bunch of big ideas, really. And we try to fit them all in this tiny space, but we just pulled off one of them. We made 300 5-foot-long glass glow sticks with real chemiluminescence, and we installed them on Lonesome Dove Island in the middle of the San Antonio River for Luminaria, for one night only. If anybody wants to do this in their backyard, we have like $500,000, we got you. So I live in a shipping container house designed by my friend Reagan Johns and I. So you can see the front there is kind of an outdoor kitchen. You can maybe see in the top is my studio hiding back there, and then the container itself is what I live in. This is its second iteration. All right. I've been really lucky to live at the Hot Wells Hotel as an artist in residence and caretaker for the last, since 2012. My good friend James and I, initial discussions about the things I wanted to do consisted of me wanting to make gardens around the ruins. So you can see from some of these photos here that happened. And so some of you might have heard of the Hot Wells Harvest Feast. So all these gardens eventually inspired this feast with about 35 different chefs annually kind of making the trek. And so, yeah, these are some of the things that we've pickled, preserved, grown out there at Hot Wells. So I've talked a lot about community. I've kind of name dropped a little bit. This is the hot spring pool that I built with about 20 different people volunteering from the artist community when I first moved out to Hot Wells. Without the support of that community of friends and peers, a lot of the things I've shown you would not have been possible. Lastly here tonight, so about 20 years ago now, I started making this sticker. It's a sticker of a television. I've hand screened and distributed for free about 500,000 of these in that time. I feel like our world's changed quite a bit in the last few years. It's now my smartphone that has such an insidious hold on me. And I made a new batch of stickers from the design on the right. If you find me after the presentation, I'll give you one. Thank you. I want to run away.
Justin Parr, ladies and gentlemen. Woo. So when did you become a neo-traditionalist?
Well, Anjali called me a neo-traditionalist about a month ago, so I'd say about a month ago.
Okay, excellent.
Maybe a month and a half.
Right, right. Is the marbles thing a lifelong interest? I mean, did you love marbles when you were a kid?
Yes and no. I started blowing glass and I thought, I'm going to make marbles.
Wait, so you started blowing glass as a kid?
No!
Okay, good, because that's not
dangerous.
Good parenting. Yeah, okay. So when did you start blowing glass?
About 10 years ago.
Okay, great.
I was still kind of a kid.
I can tell.
Yeah. I'm holding on tight.
Excellent. And so when you fell in love with marbles, you talked about it, but tell me two more things. Like, why? Because I don't get marbles. Like, what do I need to see in marbles?
Marbles are kind of the thing that I spent the most time on that's the hardest thing to attribute a value to. Because if you don't get marbles, then you don't care.
I'm empty inside, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. Yes. What about glassware? I get glassware because I like what's inside of it. When you are blowing glass, I mean, is it about following? You have these imperfections that people talk about.
Yeah.
Is it about following what happens? Something, an imperfection appears and you see it and you play with it?
So there's lots of ways to make a perfect glass. But say if you don't use two hands, then you're gonna make a glass that looks organic. Do you want a perfect glass? I mean, everybody always picks the organic glass.
Right. Yeah, you want the one that's more interesting.
So
you want
if you come to my
asymmetry.
glass shop, I'm often only using one hand.
There are so many questions I could ask on that, but I think we'll just say Justin Parr, ladies and gentlemen.